Hello. There we go. I knew I was going to have some audio difficulties today just due to the fact that everything decided it wanted to update all at once in the last 10 minutes. I don't know what just happened. But because of that, audio's already acting wonky. Wonky is a word, by the way. So today we're going to be talking about microphones and how to choose the right one, specifically like which is the right one for which situation. Now, there are a ton of microphones, but we're going to talk about the main four types of microphones rather than just talk about brand names. I think that's going to be a better foot forward to help you understand some concepts so that you can actually reach for mics with confidence. And you'll also kind of get a better understanding of what mic to use in what situation, or what kind of microphone should you buy next, or do you have enough already? So we're going to kind of cover the whole gambit here. And I'll be also taking questions. So if you have any questions whatsoever, go ahead and shoot those as well. Remember that this channel exists to simplify the complexities of the home studio and to help you make professional sounding music in a less than professional space. We can dream alone. We can create alone. But together, we can achieve so much more. What's going on, Micah? We got Tim Consley on here. Good to see you guys. Want to give a big shout out to my chart toppers. These guys rock. They're awesome. Every one of these individuals has helped to sponsor the channel in some way, shape, or form, whether it was through the generous super chat feature or it was just simply through the Patreon page. They have done an amazing job of helping, and I greatly appreciate that, guys. Could not have done it without you. Everything that goes on here requires time, and time, as they say, is money. And so with that being said, you individuals who have given, whether it's through a one-time donation of a super chat or you've signed on for a monthly Patreon account, you're keeping the channel going. I appreciate it, and I'm sure others appreciate it as well. And I can already see right now that none of the audio is working in OBS or anything. This is, hopefully you can hear my voice. I don't know if you can or not. Hopefully you can. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that. We're going to talk about some different types of microphones. So one of the biggest questions that I get a lot is, which microphone should I buy? And it's kind of a loaded question because I honestly don't know which microphone you should buy. I don't know what you're recording. I don't know what kind of a source you're going to be recording on. Is it going to be a vocalist, or is it going to be a guitar cab? Is it going to be in a well-treated studio, or is it going to be in a bedroom studio, much like the one that I'm operating out of here? So there's a lot of variables that go into choosing the right microphone. So the way that we can navigate through this is really to answer our own question. Maybe you have this question yourself, which is the best microphone for said vocalist, which is the best microphone for a guitar cab, whatever it might be. I'm going to try to give you some really hard and fast rules, if you want to call it that. Not really rules, but more or less just guidelines and principles that you can use. You can walk away from this episode of this show today with a better understanding of why you would choose a certain microphone for a certain scenario. So, like I said, there are a ton of different microphones out there, but we're going to talk about the main four microphones, and that is the dynamic microphone, which is what I'm speaking into now. Hey, Jurgen, I see you, buddy. So I'm speaking into a dynamic microphone. We're going to talk about the large diaphragm condenser, a small diaphragm condenser, and ribbon microphones. Now, like I said, there are a ton of different microphones out there, but these are the four main microphones that are predominantly used in most studios, whether it's big name studios or home studios. These are the four main microphones that are predominantly used. So these are the ones that we're going to talk about today. So what is a dynamic microphone? What makes it a dynamic microphone? Well, this particular microphone, like I said, is a dynamic microphone. And what makes it a dynamic microphone is that, for one, they have this sort of intrinsic value to them in the sense that they're usually cheaper than condenser microphones. They're durable. They sound fantastic on most of the common sources that you'll be using in recording. And unlike condenser microphones, these use a movable induction coil that's sort of suspended in a field of a magnet. And that's how a dynamic mic sort of works, like a speaker in reverse. So a speaker, you have your cone and your magnet behind it. And as it receives those electrical currents, it pushes the sound out. So if you think of that sort of scenario, this is almost reversed. So instead of it uh, exhaling, if you want to call it that, audio, it's inhaling audio. So dynamic mics, for the most part, they are very responsive to transients, and they can handle high SPL levels or sound pressure levels very well. This makes them a natural choice for loud sources like a drum kit, close mics, and guitar on a guitar cab and bass cabs, and also for some vocalists, especially the screamers. You don't want to put a screamer in front of a ribbon microphone, especially. They might actually damage the ribbon. And you definitely don't want to put a screamer in front of most condenser microphones. Yet again, these are not hard and fast rules, but just some guidelines. Man alive, that's some good coffee. So, given how affordable the dynamic microphones are and also how versatile they are, they definitely should find a place in your home studio. You should at least have one or two in your arsenal. And by one or two, here's where we get kind of sidetracked on, well, what name brands are you talking about? So, hey, Keith, good to see you, buddy. So just shooting from the hip, really good, inaffordable, dynamic microphone for recording guitars, a staple in every studio, whether you use them or not. Just saying, just throwing this out there, is the classic SM57. I'm going to try to pull that up here so you can kind of get it. For those of you who may not know what an SM57 looks like, what I'm speaking in right now, this is called an SM7B, and it's a microphone by the Shure company, or Shure, however you want to say it. They make excellent microphones. For the most part, they're actually very affordable too. So the Shure SM57, I'm going to try to go to the desktop here so you can see this. This here is what an SM57 looks like. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. Boom. So these microphones right here, I've got two of them. One of them was a gift, and the other one I actually did buy. Or no, I'm sorry. Both of them were gifts. Hallelujah. One of them I used predominantly at our church because it was given to us when our church burned down from a wonderful subscriber, actually. And so it is on the mic. It's miking the guitar cabinet that I'm using there at the church. Sounds really great through the system that we're using. You can get achieve some great sounds out of that, honestly. And I've got one here at the home studio that I use all the time on guitar cabinets as well. So an SM57, as you can see right here, this is brand new, $99. Used, $84. Now that's not terribly expensive. So yes, you got to drop a little chunk of change, but you also got to think about the return on investment, the ROI. So the ROI for these is amazing, simply due to the fact that they're built like a tank. It's next to impossible to hurt these things. You can modify them to actually get different sounds as well. And they're very easily accessible. Like, you can find these all over the place all the time. They're not discontinued. So this is an excellent choice for a dynamic microphone. Now, if you were going to go on the route of singing, this microphone can definitely work for a vocalist. Not predominantly my favorite microphone for a vocalist. For most vocalists, hey, Evan, nice to see you, buddy. For most vocalists, they might even prefer the SM58, which is sort of like the twin brother that doesn't look like the twin. Um, but it's around the same price point. And this is a great vocal microphone. And I said it in the last stream, and I stand by that. This microphone is a staple. This microphone is one of those that literally they have built stages using this thing like a hammer. They've built the stages, then put it up on the mic stand, and it worked flawlessly for the performance. So these microphones are built very well. They're very affordable. And these are what we would describe as what I just spoke of as a dynamic microphone. Now, can you get more expensive? Absolutely. The one that I'm speaking into right now, this is sort of a broadcast microphone. And so this one here runs you about $300 even used. However, is it investment? I believe so. My voice has never sounded better than whenever I started using this thing. And of course, I'm running it through some outboard gear as well to kind of give it this radio ready sound. And I can, tweak it. I can tweak it on the go to really get that radio sound if I want. Turn up that low end. Of course, that sounds a little muffled to me, but the point I'm getting at is you've got really good affordable options here on the lower end of the spectrum that can get you great guitar tones and great vocals for next to nothing. And these are going to last you forever. These are XLR microphones, meaning that they will plug in through an XLR cable. And I sound like Paul Rubin without the mic, he says. So let me turn off my all my processing here. Hold on. Hey guys. So now that the processing's turned off, this is what all right, there we go. Turn that back on. Okay. Gotta have some fun every once in a while, right? It's been a rough week anyway. For those of you who follow the page, you know what I'm talking about. I don't even want to bring it up. I love my cat. She was awesome. But anyway, so where in the world, let me try to get to some of these. I think I might have a couple of questions here. If we're talking mics, Keith says, get a contact microphone for some odd sound recording like electrical signals. They're dirt cheap and fun to mess around with recording light bulbs and things. Oh, that's a cool idea. I have heard of, I think it was Sylvia Massey was doing some cool stuff like that. Jurgen says, my focus is vocals. I thought I'd buy an SM58 because it's the most famous. That's definitely a good starter for vocals, Jurgen. Definitely. You cannot go wrong with that. The only thing that I would say is if you're looking for detailed articulation, you're going to want to get into some of the other microphones we're going to be looking at here in just a minute, preferably like a large diaphragm. But still, the SM58 is used on records all the time. They're used live for a reason. They don't quit. They're just amazing. So he goes on to say, Evan Wilson says, I have one of those twins. He goes on to say, but actually a friend of mine told me to have a look at the Beta 58A. Sounds much better to my ears. Awesome. Yeah, I have heard actually that the Beta 58A does actually sound better. And I think that's the one also that has the on-off switch. Don't quote me on that. Some people like the on-off switch, and some people opt out of actually getting the on-off switch. So the one thing that you do want to make sure of as we're looking at these together here is you want to make sure that you don't get a Chinese knockoff. There are several out there. They look just like the real thing, but they're not the real thing. Now, on the other side of that spectrum, maybe you get one and it sounds amazing. You can use it all day long, whatever. That's awesome too. But you want to make sure that, like right here, here's a good example. This is a Unidyne right next to, and I don't know if you can see that. Hold on. So here's a Unidyne right next to a Shure SM57 from that website that likes to tear everybody down. So They look identical. I mean, if you didn't know any better, you would think that you were getting an authentic SM57, but you're getting actually like a $40 microphone instead of a $100 microphone. So you got to be careful with that. So let's talk about sort of the principle though behind this. Like why would you even want, what would be the purpose, and, why would you reach for a dynamic microphone versus one of the other three that we're talking about? So Micah says, I got a Sennheiser 5032P. If that's the microphone that you spoke into for the video that you sent for the 5000, that mic sounds really good on your voice. Really good. You sounded all radio ready right there. Jurgen says, actually, I bought an AT2035 in the meantime. That's a great microphone right there, too. You can't go wrong with Audio Technicas. So what are some areas where dynamic microphones really shine? So the dynamic microphones, obviously, like I've just spoke of, the SM57 in particular really shines on guitar cabinets. And now that's not a hard and fast rule, just like everything else with recording. You don't have to use an SM57. You could very well throw the SM58 up there and probably still get some really good sounds. The reason why everyone always reaches for the SM57 is because it just works. It's just one of those things that you've heard it on a lot of albums already. And so a lot of people will reach for it for specifically miking up a guitar cabinet. When it comes to an SM58, the reason why a lot of people reach for them when it comes to vocalists is because you hear them on a lot of records and you hear them live. They last a long time. So what are some advantages, though? And this is where one area where I don't think a lot of people talk enough about. What are some advantages of a dynamic microphone over a condenser or a ribbon microphone? Let's talk about that. So a dynamic microphone intrinsically by nature has a very, very high rejection point at the back of the microphone. And I'll show you what I mean here. And let me find a good picture of one, and I'm going to zoom in and draw on it. Okay, so here we go. This will work. So typically speaking, most all microphones, unless they're omnidirectional or they're unidirectional, will always pick up from the front in a cardioid fashion. A cardioid microphone means that it's picking up in only the front position of that. So it kind of looks like an upside down heart. So in this one, it would kind of look like that. That's a cardioid pattern, which means everything around this area here, if you're singing, this could get X-rated here. I better watch out what I'm drawing. Everything from these areas here, it's going to accept as sound signal. Now, everything from behind this is what's called a null point. And so it will actually reject sounds that are coming from behind it. Cool? Now, how is that beneficial? Well, here's how it becomes beneficial to you. If you are, let's say you're in a noisy bedroom with a fan on your computer that is incredibly loud. Well, if you have a null point or a rejection point on that microphone, then the best thing that you could do, and the best reason why you would want to use a dynamic microphone in that scenario, is because if your fan is back here, that's the worst drawing of a fan ever. If your fan's back here and it's making all kinds of noise, then you can point the microphone away from the fan so that the fan, that noise is, yes, Keith, it did look quite like a bum. The noise then is going towards the null point and not towards the cardioid pattern or where it's picking up. So these can be very handy in situations where maybe you've got a window that's outside and there's traffic going by, or maybe you're trying to cut down on room reflections. If it's going to cut down on room reflections, that's another excellent usage for that. Audio Surgeon Music. Hey, nice to see you on here again, buddy. He says, I tried to pick up a Shure SM7B or a Rode NT1, but recently they have been sold out for a while. So Sweetwater suggested the EV RE320. And I have to say, I'm really digging it. Yes, that is a awesome microphone. That's another store. What am I thinking? Broadcast microphone. And actually that was on my list to talk about as well as a more high end microphone. Also the Sennheiser MD421, the Shure SM7B, the Electro Voice RE20. All of those are really cool. And yes, and due to COVID, nearly everything is being sold out. And things that used to not be as much are like price hikes like crazy. Something as simple as the webcam that I'm using right now, $50 webcam that's going for like almost $300 in some places. It's ridiculous. But so talking, I'm getting sidetracked here. It's easy for me to get sidetracked because I have the attention span of a gnat. So, but yeah, so you can use these null points to your advantage, whether it's a noisy atmosphere in the background, whether it's something that you're trying to minimize. The other cool thing about those null points is that you can record multiple instruments in the same room without getting as much mic bleed. So a condenser microphone picks up everything around it. It's it's as close to the human ear as pretty much as you can get in a microphone. And so it picks up nearly everything. Whereas these are going to be very laser focused. Now, the SM7B and the SM57 that we're seeing here, these are not real razor focused. Like I showed you a minute ago in my fantastic butt drawing, they they have kind of a wide cardioid pattern. Now, there are other dynamic microphones, however, that have what's called a super cardioid pattern. And with a super cardioid mic, you're talking like a very narrow window. Shotgun microphones, for instance, have that same intrinsic super cardioid pattern built into them. So there's definitely a lot of options when it comes to shotgun microphones and things like that. But shotgun microphones are mainly used in video production and things like that because you can get just out of focus, just out of the shot, pointing at the individual, and it will pick up that person without picking up a lot of background noise. Now, I have yet to hear, but I would like to hear someone do some sound examples like with the Sennheisers, the Sennheiser shotgun microphones and some of the Audio-Technica microphones. I would love to hear some of those shotgun mics on like an acoustic guitar or something. I think they would actually probably do a pretty good job. So yeah, those have a super cardioid pattern though. So they have a very like laser focused area that they're going to pick up. Whereas these still have a little bit wider area, but they still have that null point, that rejection point. So there's some excellent reasons as to why you would actually reach for a dynamic microphone. You're in a studio situation, guy brings in a huge amp and he says, I want to play this guitar at the same time that I'm singing. Can you record me singing and the guitar at the same time? Well, you've got several options. One option obviously is to record the DI signal from the amp as well as the microphone signal. The other option is, and also the mic that he's singing into. The other option is to actually just mic up the guitar cabinet with the SM57, mic him up with an SM58, put the null points against each other so that they're completely canceling out one another essentially. Now you're still going to get mic bleed. There's no way you could get rid of that with a huge amp in a room, but it would be minimized to the point where it would not be distracting and you could actually mix the vocal like you need to without having to do all kinds of crazy mixing ninja tricks to get the amp to go away. In fact, in most cases, if you use those null points to your advantage, you can just use a gate or something like that to even get rid of that background bleed altogether. So Evan Wilson says $65 Behringer audio interface, about $170. Yeah, it's getting crazy, man. But you're right, it is starting to come back around. All right, so that was sort of my spiel on dynamic microphones and why you would want to use one. If you don't own either of these microphones and you're thinking that you have to have them to be able to make music, don't go down that rabbit hole either. Essentially, and I was watching Anita Potter's channel yesterday, and she brought up something where she said it was one of her Woot Wednesdays, and she said just use what you have and quit worrying about. And I've said that for years, and it was just awesome to hear someone else sort of saying that now. You know, if something messes up on you, if a microphone breaks and you got another one, just use the other one, make it work. So I'm kind of like trying to get to that point where I'm trying to purposely give every one of you no excuse to make music. And I think we're coming around to that point. By the way, along those same lines, the August HSS song contest is now open for submissions until the 27th. So you still have 7 more days to submit that. The link for that is on the Facebook page. It's also on the community tab here on YouTube. If you go scroll back through, you'll see that. And then from there, you just upload your song into there, and then we're going to have another song contest. So love having those. And we've already got, I think, 6 or 7 submissions. So the more the merrier. Bring them on. All right, so now let's move on next to the large diaphragm condenser. So let me pull up a picture of some here. I always love spelling diaphragm. So some of these have actually already been mentioned. Audio Surgeon Music says, I would have to say the SM57 is a great, reliable mic. I had one for about 7 years. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like I said, them things are just tanks. You almost can't destroy them unless you just drop them in a vat of boiling lava. Who's got boiling lava laying around? Where am I getting this stuff? See what sleep deprivation does to you? Okay, so what we're looking at now is a bunch of large diaphragm condensers. Some of the most famous ones here, the Neumann TLM 103, the Rode NT1A. I actually own this microphone. It's a great microphone. Here's the AKGs. Here's another microphone that I own. I don't own this particular model, but I own the Spark, and it is a large diaphragm as well. So here's a sort of a plethora of large diaphragm condenser microphones here. And is there a lava lamp in here? I don't see a lava lamp. Are you pulling my leg? Yeah, I don't see a lava lamp. Maybe I need... Oh, you're telling me to get one. Oh, man. Oh, cool. And here's like a little drawing. I didn't know this was on here. Here's a little drawing of the polar patterns that I was just talking about, actually. So here's a cardioid polar pattern, which looks a lot better than the butt that I drew. I'll zoom in on that. Yeah. And then this here kind of shows you hypercardioid, figure of 8, omnidirectional, shotgun microphone. As you can see, there's still some pickup from the back, but it's mainly focused in the front. And this cardioid pattern, you can see there's a huge rejection point in the back. So very cool. So the thing is then, why would you want to choose a large diaphragm over a cardioid, over a dynamic? For one, they are a little bit more articulate. They sound a little bit better, in my personal opinion. They sound, boiling lava. Lava lamp. Gotcha. Large diaphragm condenser microphones are probably the first thing that comes to mind when you think about studio recording mics, honestly. They're large most of the time, they're stylish, and they're serious looking microphones that you see in most bedroom studios or even professional studios. Now, condenser mics work by using a capacitor or a condenser to convert acoustic vibrations into an electrical current. And that means they need a power source, which is a 48 volt phantom power source to operate. It also means that they're much more sensitive than the dynamic mics or ribbon mics, and they output a louder signal. So as you can see here, if I was to zoom in on this picture of the Neumann TLM 103 here, you can notice that there is a pretty large capsule in here. So this capsule actually is a gold sputtered capsule that is much like an eardrum. So whenever you speak, that capsule vibrates back and forth and it creates that sound that you're looking for. Because of their sensitivity, it makes them ideal for quiet or extremely dynamic sources like vocals. So large diaphragm condensers exhibit a number of sonically pleasing qualities for voices as well. They help to create larger than life sounds that we all have appreciated over the years. And one thing that I can definitely say is they're not for everybody. And what I mean by that is, like I was speaking of a minute ago, you don't want to hand a screamer a large diaphragm condenser unless, of course, it has a very high SPL. Some of those that can handle it, some of like, I'm trying to think of one right off the top of my head. You know, actually the Rode NT1A can actually handle some pretty loud sounds. I have to say, I had a female vocalist that was singing on it and she was belting some lines and it didn't budge. There was no distortion whatsoever on that mic. Jurgen says large condenser versus dynamic. It's not a little difference. The difference is huge. Yes, this is true. Evan Wilson says, I use an MXL 770. I think it's technically a small diaphragm, but I do like it, at least for the price. Absolutely. I have an MXL V67G that honestly is like one of my go-to microphones for male vocals. It just sounds amazing. It's an older MXL. I don't know if something happened along the line where they messed it up, but I've had a lot of people that complained about it, and I'm like, I love mine. I don't know what you're complaining about. So, Audio Surgeon Music says, what's your favorite condenser microphone? I would hope to get the NT1 in the future. You know, that's really my favorite condenser microphone. Honestly, it's the right one for the right source. I know that's kind of a dodge of the question. But I really don't have necessarily a favorite. I mean, if I had to say like, what's the one microphone that I reach for the most, it's that MXL V67G. I almost always will throw it up first before I default to something else. Now here, as of late, I have been using the Rode NT1A quite a bit. It's great for like upfront vocals, and you don't really have to do much to the vocals to get them to set in a mix or to set on top of the mix. But the V67G has this quality to it that's like a very vintage sounding. I use the word, you're right. It's a very vintage, like darker sounding microphone. And it just, on male vocals, it just seems to shine. I don't know. So Tim says, I'm using a borrowed MXL 4000 ATM. I didn't have a lot of recording equipment, but some friends of mine loaned me the mic, studio speakers, and a bass guitar. Sweet. Nice. Oh, at the moment. Okay, I got you. MXL 4000 at the moment. MXL, like a lot of people give them down the road, but MXL has really got some good sounding microphones, and they're modifiable. In fact, the very first MXL 990 and 991 combo that I bought, I got them both for like $50 at a yard sale with a case and a shock mounts and the whole 9 yards. I actually brought it home and did just a few modifications on that thing. Just replaced some capacitors, a few resistors, and took the inner mesh. There's two linings of mesh on the 990. And if you take the inner one out, it sort of just opens the microphone up more. I actually preferred it before I took the mesh out, so I sold it because I can't get the mesh back in there. And there was all kinds of other ways, like, yeah, you can go in there and solder this and put it in. I was like, nah, I'm just going to sell it. It's not worth my time. So I sold the set to an individual who was in desperate need of microphones to record anyway. So cut him a really good deal. I sold it all to him for $50. So made my money back. But anyway, I said all that to say this. It's not really about the price of the microphone. Yes, there is definitely an area of like diminishing returns where you get to a point where you're like, okay, I think I'm just buying trash now. One of those instances actually just happened to me not too long ago. I had a company send me a microphone for review. And because they're sending me the microphone, they expect me to give them a 5-star review. I can't do that. I have to review the microphone and give my honest opinion. So they send me the microphone. They said, let us know how it sounds. I get the microphone. I'm talking like I'm talking right now, and the microphone's clipping with the gain turned all the way down. I mean, it's like, well, let's see if I can get this. It's like this. I don't even know if I can get this thing to clip. I don't know if I just did or not. Anyway, it sounded like trash. So I emailed him back and I said, I understand that you're wanting a 5-star review for this, but I cannot give it a 5-star review. The mic is faulty. It's got to be faulty. They said, oh, well, what's it doing? And I said, it has no SBL level whatsoever. I'm talking into it at a normal level and it's distorting like crazy. And they said, oh, well, obviously, it's a junk microphone, send it back. So they paid for all the shipping and all that stuff. I sent it back. They send me a new one. I'm like, okay, let's give them, benefit of the doubt. Get this one out, set it up. The exact same thing. I said, guys, I don't think you can, there's no way you could send me 2 faulty microphones back to back. So I said, how can we remedy this? They said, well, we need to go back to the drawing board, obviously. And to that point, I said, yeah, you do. So no 5-star review for you. You can have your microphone back. I don't need it that bad. So LDCs, or large diaphragm condensers, for the most part, some of them have selectable polar patterns, which also makes them incredibly versatile. Just like the polar patterns that we looked at here just a minute ago. Hopefully you can see that. I'll try to pull that up a little bit closer. So, yeah, that's not working. Now it's just want me to buy a Neumann. I will not buy a Neumann yet. Okay, so here's a better picture anyway. This one would probably be better anyway. So as you can see here, good night, that's big. There are different polar patterns. Now, a polar pattern is essentially where that microphone is going to pick up from. It's sort of like if you picture a microphone like a flashlight is the best way to kind of envision this. So a dynamic microphone is like a flashlight with a tie beam on, shooting straight out. An omnidirectional microphone, like this one here, is like the flashlight pointed up at the ceiling and the lights dispersing all over the room. A supercardioid is like the flashlight with the high beam on, and you've dialed it into a little pinpoint ray of light. So farther and farther we go on in the shotgun mic, figure of 8 is like having 2 flashlights pointing in opposite directions. One's picking up one this way, one's picking up that way. So you have all these various options, and some of these microphones, some of these large diaphragm microphones especially, have that switchable polar pattern, which makes them very versatile. So you can use them, say for instance, for mid-side recording. And mid-side recording, just to sort of demystify that, because a lot of people, they think it's like this big mystical, how do you do it? It's crazy. All you have to do with mid-side recording is you have a cardioid pattern like this one here. And I'm going to attempt to draw me another butt. So you have a cardioid pattern microphone here that's facing this way. That just looks so bad. And so this microphone that even looks worse. Now it's pooping. It's picking up this way. And you have a figure of 8 microphone directly on top of it, picking up this way. Okay, now it looks a little more like an alien, not so much like a butt. So, and then whenever you record this, you track this cardioid goes on one track, and this figure of 8 goes on another track. And then what you do is you set this one to stereo recording and you set this one to mid recording. And then you just simply blend the two together. It's super simple. It's not like this big mystical, crazy thing that you, ooh, that's from my computer beep. That's probably not a good sign. There we go. Anyway, it don't have to be this big, crazy, mystical thing. Anybody can do it. It's super simple. Essentially, you're just getting two different recordings at the same time. One's for the sides and one's for the middle. Boom. There you go. Okay, so now let's talk about small diaphragm condensers. What exactly sets those apart from the large diaphragms and the dynamics? Well, small diaphragm condensers, sometimes called pencil condensers, and they're usually called this because of the fact that they usually look like longer, thinner. I don't think they really look like pencils, with the exception of maybe like the Earthworks mics. Yeah, see, the Earthwork mics, those kind of look like a pencil. But these others, they look more like a, I'll let your mind wander on that one. So, but however, they're just as useful as a large diaphragm condenser, despite their small stature, because small diaphragm condensers have great transient response. They have an extended top end and they have consistent pickup patterns. So this is why a lot of times that you'll see individuals using these small diaphragm condensers on drum overheads. They have sort of this narrower field of view. They're great for transients. They don't pick up a lot of room noise because they have that rejection, that null point at the back. And they have very consistent pickup patterns, which means usually it's very easy to buy two microphones off the shelf and get what sounds close to a matched pair. So this makes them great for realistic stereo techniques as well as acoustic instruments too. They really shine on acoustics. In fact, one of my dream microphones, which I'll probably never own, is actually this right here. No, it's not. That's the TC20. I'm wanting the TC25. Where's it at? Where you would think it would show up on here, being a big name company like that. Earthworks. I'm going to have to drool over this just a little bit here. You guys are going to have to bear with me. There it is. Oh, yeah. The Earthworks TC25. And why it's $100 more than the TC20, but they look the same, I don't know. But for whatever reason, I've heard both of these microphones on acoustic guitar, and oh my goodness, that one's only $450. Resist the urge, Robert. Resist the urge. Anyway, that just totally distracted me. That's a good deal. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Anyway, I have heard this microphone on acoustic guitar and it is absolutely amazing on acoustic. I don't know what in the world kind of magic they got baked into this thing, but even on a junk acoustic, it made that guitar sound great. I don't know how, but it does. And that's why I'm dying to get my hands on one, and probably what would happen is I'd get my hands on one and then everything I recorded with it wouldn't sound like what I heard. It would be less than lackluster and I'd be $450 in the hole, but that's such a good deal. All right, moving on. Jurgen says, Robert, do you know the Lewitt LCT 040? Yes. That is another classic microphone that I want to get my hands on. Just the myriad of videos that Warren Hewitt has put out on those alone was enough to make me want to buy one. But then I know several individuals as well that have used them on nearly everything, and they sound good. This is just one of those dream microphones that like I said, I'll probably never own it. But $450. Well, plus 20 shipping. Forget that. That's a deal breaker. That's what I'm going to keep telling myself as I move on. All right, Narrowfield TC. Not sure about that one. Not sure what you're talking about on that one. So why would you pick a small diaphragm condenser then versus the large diaphragm or versus the dynamic, transient response, the acoustic instruments? Oh, TC25. Gotcha. It's more narrow field. Good deal. That's what makes it so much different. Okay. Not to mention, it just looks pretty. I mean, not really pretty. It just looks unique. I mean, it would be cool to like break that out and someone would be like, whoa, what's this? I'd be like, well, this is the TC25. Anyway, so we're going to move on now to ribbon microphones. Ribbon microphones are sort of rare in most home studios, just simply because of the fact that they have intrinsically a darker sound. And a lot of people don't like that darker sound, simply because they don't shine well on vocals. They don't shine well on a lot of things per se. However, a lot of ribbon microphones do come in on top when it comes to miking a guitar cabinet, a Leslie cabinet. There's so many cool things that you can do with those. Not the sort of thing to pull out if you're in a fancy dress. I was like, yeah. Ooh. Yeah. So the thing that is sort of built into most of the ribbon microphones is they are almost always by nature a figure of 8. So they come in very handy for, yet again, that mid-side recording that we just spoke of. And there's several videos online that, there's one YouTube video right now of a guy who works in a Nashville studio, and in the background, he's using Cakewalk, which I was like, yes, super cool. But he actually shows you how to do mid-side recording, and he uses a ribbon microphone and a dynamic microphone, and just, I mean, it's super simple. But ribbon microphones are darker in nature, and they're also, at least they were, I don't know so much anymore, because I haven't really used them all that much. I owned a Cascade for a while, and it wasn't bad, but it was just so dark, and it required so much gain to get anything out of it. It was almost pointless, to be honest. Was it a Cascade? I thought it was. Yeah, it was this one right here. No, it was the Nady. That's right. Where's that at? The Nady, I thought it was called like a Fathead or something crazy. Oh yeah, the Royers. Those sound amazing. You can pretty much throw them on anything. Bear Dynamics. MXL, as you can see, is showing up on this list a lot for the ribbon. There it is. That's the one that I owned, the Nady RSM4. And it really didn't sound too bad, to be perfectly honest, but it just was not, I could not get like the sounds that I wanted out of it. It says here that it shines well on a kick drum. Man alive, I would be very scared putting a ribbon microphone on a kick drum. And the reason being is ribbon microphones by nature are very brittle. They have a small, very, very little bitty thin piece of metal in there. And if an individual was to blow too hard, yell too loud, if there was too much SPL coming out of it, it could actually rip that, and then the mic's ruined unless you get it serviced. Which there's YouTube videos that show you how to actually make those out of aluminum. So that's always a possibility too. Hey, Mark, good to see you, buddy. I am working on, I shouldn't say I'm working on the video. I'm working on getting around to getting to the video for your mix review, mix critique. I haven't forgot about you, buddy. It's just been a crazy past week. But nonetheless, they do still hold their own. There's reasons why, people keep ribbons around. Ribbon technology dates all the way back to the earliest days of microphones. And so for vintage sounds, some people will always reach for those. Most of the photos from like the golden age Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Most of those sounds from the golden age of broadcasting are filled with presenters speaking into these classic ribbon style microphones. And ribbon microphones, as I've already said, use an ultra thin ribbon of electroconductive material suspended between two poles of a magnet that generate their signal. So they have a little bit different way of working, but they work. Early ribbon designs were incredibly fragile, and I'm thinking that they've gotten better now, but who knows? Not me, because I don't really use them that much. So moving them improperly, like I spoke of earlier, or even subjecting them to high SPL levels could actually cause the ribbon to break. But their sound was worth the trade-off in durability because ribbon mics are prized for their warm vintage tone. They're perfect for when you need to tame excessive or high harsh end sources like guitar amps, drum overheads, or brass. I have heard they really shine well on brass. And ribbon microphones naturally produce a perfect figure of 8 polar pattern and respond to EQ extremely well. I would definitely say that as well. In fact, the Nady RSM that I showed you a minute ago, I think I got it for like $80. It's kind of like a Cascade knockoff, but man, I could high pass that thing to death and it would never do anything. It just sounded better, but it would never like sound bad. It's kind of cool. So a little tip for these though is even though today's ribbon mics aren't quite as fragile as the earlier designs, they're still easier to damage than dynamic or condenser mics. So you have to be very careful if you get yourself a ribbon microphone in handling it. The most important rule of ribbons is never, ever supply a 48 volt phantom power supply to ribbon mics. You risk actually electrocuting the ribbon itself, which can destroy the ribbon. So Mark George says $80 is a lot for me right now. Yeah, I know the feeling, man. $80 is a lot for everybody right now. Crazy. Audio Surgeon says microphones are so much fun to talk about. Great show. I'm having a great time learning about them. Awesome. Thank you. So whether you're recording your microphone or you're just reaching for something, whether you're recording yourself or you're recording a mic cabinet or a speaker cabinet, or whatever the source might be, microphone choice is probably the most important factor after the quality of the instrument itself. So the best thing to do is to just take these really simplified tips that I'm giving you today and just ask yourself, like said scenario, let's just throw a scenario out there. An artist comes to you and says, I want to record, I'm a singer-songwriter, and I want to record me and my guitar only. I don't want any extra like production with it, just me and my guitar. So then you can start thinking in your mind, okay, what would be the best miking situation for this to where I could minimize the bleed of the guitar from the bleed of the vocalist and get the best sound from the two. Now, if they're a folk singer and they want a vintage sound, reaching for a ribbon microphone might just do it because it already has that figure of 8 pattern. You literally, like it shows right here. Let me zoom in on that. Boom. So because it has this figure of 8 pattern intrinsically built into it, you got vocalist here and guitar here. You got a perfect blend of the two. And it's going to have that warm, rich, vintage sound that most folk artists like to hear anyway. So let's say it's more of a poppy instrumentalist and he's a singer-songwriter who likes the poppy sound. So you're going to want to do a lot of extra effects on the vocals that you're not going to want to affect the guitar with. Then in that situation, I actually have a video, or had a video, I think it's still on my channel. I had a video called Recording a Singer-Songwriter where I used a small diaphragm condenser, the MXL 991 actually, pointed right at the 12th fret about 6 feet back or 6 inches back of his Martin D41. And then I took the MXL V67G and literally flipped it on its like upside down perpendicular to the other microphone to to where the point of rejection was exactly behind the guitar, and then just put that as close to his mouth as I could get it where it would sound natural. The result was actually pretty amazing. In fact, I might even have a sound example of that. It might take me a minute to pull that up, but I think I actually have a sound example of that. That would be cool. So while I'm trying to reach for that, oh, perfect. I was just getting ready to say, if you guys have any questions, and then Jurgen just like read my mind or something. Man, you're a mind reader. It's crazy. So Jurgen asked the question, so the polar pattern of 8 is still a mono channel, right? So the balance between vocals and guitar have to match correctly right at recording time. So with a ribbon microphone, typically you record in stereo because it's picking up from one side and the other. And the way that you do this is technically, yes, it's still a mono signal, but because it's picking up from both sides, you're getting two different takes in one. So the best way that you can do that is literally to record the mic as a stereo mic and to put it into your system twice, one left and one right. Apparently, something I just said told Siri that I wanted to call Mike Riley. I don't even know who that is. Anyway, Mike, I got it. Okay. Anyway, but essentially you would create two stereo tracks, recording from the same microphone, just arm both tracks with the same microphone input, record the sources, pan it left and right, and you will have this really nice, lush sounding stereo sound. It's pretty amazing. But technically, yes, it would be considered a mono signal from whatever's coming at the front of it. But if you have, yet again, if you have two things, if you got a singer here and a singer here behind and in front, then that's a stereo signal. So you could definitely put it on a stereo channel and still get the same. Did that make sense? Yes, that is in phase. Or I'm sorry, no. It's completely 180 out of phase. So you do have to flip the phase. Sorry about that. It's been a while since I've used one like that. And usually the cardioid microphone that you use, you have to adjust. There's usually some phase going on there too. Let me see here. Going back through the archives here. I think I've got, let's see, almost positive. Yeah, it should be under. Yeah, right there. It should have been under Justin Clark. And it's not. Maybe it's on the other. I bet it's on my other external hard drive, unfortunately. Man, that stinks. I was hoping I'd be able to pull that up so you guys could actually hear it in action. Ron Thompson. Yeah. Man. Okay. Oh, well. I might be able to pull that up on my channel, but I don't think that would work. I don't know. How interested are you guys in hearing a sound example of mid-side recording? Or not mid-side, of that microphone combination that I just told you? Because if you're interested in it, I'll actually get the jump drive out and hook it up. But if it's like, we can listen to it later, then I won't worry about it. Mark George says, I know you've probably already mentioned this, but what would be the best type mic just for vocals? Actually, I answered that at the very beginning of this episode. And I answered it sort of rhetorically in the sense of, which microphone do you have? And furthermore, it depends on the vocalist. Do it. You can do a quote for me to lob in on a song. Okay. We got one later is okay and one do it. So it's 50-50 right now. Who's going to tip the scales? Shall we listen or not? I actually, like I said, I might even be able to pull it up on the YouTube channel here. Because I know I've got a video on it, but I don't see, even then, I don't know if it's like a really good sound example. It's just more of me showing how I did it. So I'll check it out. Jurgen says, yes, I'd be interested in the ribbon mono stereo recording. I think I didn't get it yet. Cool. All right. So there's still some individuals who are interested in hearing it. So let me go into the back end here of YouTube, of UBTube. See if I can pull that up. By the way, if you have not liked this video yet, this would be a good opportunity for you to like the video while I'm trying to find the video that I hope you like. Oh, I'm on module 3 now of the soon to be released Ultimate Cakewalk by BandLab tutorial course. Pretty excited about that. It's already an hour long and I'm on module 3. So I'm sorry guys. I wish I could tell you how long it's going to be, but it looks like it's going to be pretty stinking long. Yeah, here we go. Okay, let's see. Oh, wow. It's still got my old logo and everything. Absolutely. Yeah, that's not off topic. A lot of guys on YouTube are debating microphone response curve of all kinds of makes and models. Do you think they are overanalyzing everything? Yes. I'll just point blank say that. Because the situation with that is, you start going down rabbit holes. You can argue all day long about which microphone has better response and which but every source is different. So there's so many variables that you really can't. Jurgen, that's really not off topic, buddy. He says, I think Cakewalk by BandLab has some additional effects with the latest update. Yes, that is not off topic. This is a predominantly Cakewalk channel. So for those of you that don't know, Jurgen's just brought up that. Thank you, Jurgen, by the way, for pulling that out of the air. I forgot to even mention it. So thank you. Cakewalk by BandLab has just been updated. And to his point, a lot of the old effects that you used to only be able to get with Sonar X3, and I believe it was X3 and after, they've actually brought back. So hopefully that means they're going to start bringing back the other plugins, like the ones that I use that you guys are like, how did you get access to that? And I'm like, it's in there, and I don't realize that you guys don't have it. Sorry. So let's check this out. This is me in the old studio here. And it's not going to cut down on any buildup of frequencies that may be caused from them being present in the same room. So the next thing that we need to do that's very imperative to recording the acoustic guitar is to get... That's good coffee. So okay, so here you can see it. Our initial plan was just to record. Let me pause this real quick. So right here is the MXL 991. And as you can see, I've got the null point to this one is back here in the reverberance of the room. And I'm pointing it just right about here. It's actually a little bit higher than that, but it's hard to see on the camera. And then the null point for this microphone is here. So they are rejecting one another. And this is the acceptance. So mainly getting vocals here. Whoa, that's crazy what that's doing. Mainly getting vocals here. That's weird. And guitar here. And the way that this guitar plays, because it's a Martin, it's very, very loud. Yeah, by the way, you got to have coffee. Early days of the coffee cam. So true. But by the way that this Martin projects sound, this actually did really good for picking up a good articulated signal, rather. Singer-songwriter fashion, just being the acoustic guitar and the vocals only. And while we actually did do this, I actually had talked the artist into playing. See how much just his guitar and then going back. How much worse my voice sounded then? So something that he had never done before, so it was kind of new to him, but he definitely did a great job at it. But what I wanted to point out here was if you are going to record a singer-songwriter, there are some tips that... Okay, let's get a better close-up here of the actual... Pointed right about the 12th fret, just a little bit before it. And it looks like it's probably about a foot away. The other picture kind of made it look like it was pointing down at the... And going to be playing here to a drum track. We got a room mic set up here in the corner. The Blue Yeti, it's set to an omnidirectional polar pattern. That was the old studio. That if you guys tuned in for the 5,000 subscriber giveaway, hop to it. You ready, man? This was the old studio. Literally the back porch converted into a studio. Though there are a wide variety of microphones to choose from when recording the... I'm pretty sure I got a sound example in here, though. Large diaphragm. Yeah, here we go. That as well in the comment section below this video. You all have a blessed day, and I will talk to you later. I'm lost in the wilderness. I'll try to turn that up. I came, but I've circled myself for days and days. Were you able to hear that? Stay, and it's kind of low. I will talk to you later. I'm lost in the wilderness. I can see the line from which I came, but I've circled myself for days and days. So as you can see, there's still some mic bleed, but it's not like terrible. I thought it was going to showcase both of them together. Really? Okay. I think I do still have a copy of that song, though. And what we actually did with it. Yeah, I do. Let me, oh yeah, that yellow Telecaster is no more. I tried to fix it up and I ended up ruining it. Unfortunately, I killed it. I wish I could say I didn't, but I did. Okay, so this is the song after it was all said and done. After we had made the recording and we got all of the microphones and everything put together. Mic for a violin. Yes, there are actually specific microphones for violins. However, you don't have to go that route. A small diaphragm condenser would probably do just perfect for you, honestly. Depending on your price points, I really can't. I don't know like what kind of money you're wanting to throw at something. But a small diaphragm condenser would probably be your best bet because the transient nature of a violin in and of itself, I wouldn't bulk at throwing a large diaphragm condenser at it either. And as Keith has said too, an omnidirectional microphone would sound great too. It would also pick up some of the ambient from it. So this is the finished song after we recorded and I did production to it. So it's not just his guitar and vocal, but you get to hear kind of what it did when it's all together. Small diaphragm condenser, the choice for the flute too. You see, flute isn't really, I mean, it's got transients, especially if you're moving fast, but it's not real transient heavy. Honestly, that would be a situation where just try them both and see which one sounds better. Use your ears. Actually, that's not the song. Okay, here's the song.
Heavy breath, I'm lost in the wilderness. I can see the line from which I came, but I've circled myself for days and days. And with the devil on my back, the shadows in mind, I'm stretched beyond confinement. So now give me strength, give me faith, help me find the light that I strayed from. So help me now. Only you can save me. Only you can rescue me. Only you can make sense of this.
All right, so that kind of gives you a short sound example there of what that microphone setup was able to achieve. Now, yet again, those were cheap microphones. So I know it's true. In fact, I have tried to get Justin on numerous occasions. In fact, I even interviewed him on my podcast, but I have tried to get him on numerous occasions to put his music out there, to start trying to get it out there for people. I was like, dude, you could be on the radio. Like, your songs are that good. And that's what I thought the intention of this. I recorded 5 songs for him. I thought that was going to be the intention. Didn't happen. I was like, he's like, well, it's just for my kids, just so they can have something to listen to later. And I'm like, dude, get that out there. That's not even one of my favorites is this one right here. It's called Shake the Bones. I did some guitar work on this one.
To this silent midnight, I look up at a lone star that lights up this dark sky. Right here and now, the feeling's overtaken me.
Anyway, very talented individual. Loved recording with him. He does have a YouTube channel. That is one area that I kind of talked him into doing. I said, you at least need to get your stuff out there that way. So if you'd like to go and check out his YouTube channel, a lot of it is just him sitting down with his guitar. But it's really good stuff. And that's sort of like his forte anyway. He's more of a singer-songwriter. So if you'd like to check that out, I'll try and find a link to that right now, and I'll post it in the chat for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this edition of, where's that? I'm not seeing it. I think he's only got like 12 subscribers. And for some reason, YouTube always pushes all of the people with 1 million subscribers up to the top. Like, I really care how many subscribers they've got. I'm looking for Justin Clark. So yeah, I am going to wrap up this edition of the live stream. I appreciate you all being on here. I hope that you learned something today. If you did learn something, let me know in the comment section, what was your aha moment? What was something that you can walk away with today and say, wow, I did not know that, or you helped me out with this, or I love to hear those comments to know exactly how I'm able to help. That's what really this is all about to me. So make sure you drop that in the old comment section while I'm still struggling to find Justin's YouTube channel here. You figure you could just go through who you're subscribed to, because obviously I'm subscribed to his channel, and like it would just pop up, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Surely he hasn't taken his channel down. He better not have made his channel private or something. I will knock him out. Oh, there he is. Okay. All right. So I'm going to post this in the chat real quick. Boom. There you go. This is what he looks like. This is his channel, just so you'll be sure that whenever you find him, you found the right person. This is him. There's a acoustic version of the song you were just listening to, Shake the Bones. Physics of Equality is an awesome song. Every one of his songs, they're spot on. They're great songs. Singer-songwriter type stuff. Just absolutely amazing. Go and check him out. Definitely give him a sub while you're at it. Let him know that I sent you over there. And then maybe in the comment section, be like, hey, you need to go record another one. All right, so before I go, I'm going to look real quickly. Thanks for the session, Robert. Didn't know much about ribbons before. Cool. When's the next show? I'm really looking forward to the next one. Can't wait. That will be either probably next Tuesday. So next week is my short week. I only work Wednesday and Thursday. So it will either be Tuesday or Saturday. More than likely, it will probably be Saturday. But we shall see. But I do post those ahead of time, not so much today, but if you get on the calendar, especially, you'll be able to see those ahead of time. And that's in the description of the video. So go and check that out. So until next time, guys, appreciate you all hopping on. Loved your vibe today. I'm glad that you all felt like you learned something. And as usual, I always learn stuff from you guys too. So thank you so much for hopping on and just being awesome. Remember that this channel exists to simplify the complexities of the home studio and to help you make professional sounding music in a less than professional space. We can dream alone. We can create alone. But together, we can achieve so much more. Thanks, guys. God bless.